grandmothers, keepers of infinite wisdom. To my sister, single parenting, fatherless children working for yours. God knows you got it twice as hard. Years of oppression left your soul steady, battered and scarred, but still as radiant as ever. The head of my household who kept my family together, mad overdue. See, we need to give these ladies they props for all that they've been through, countless generations, and they never stop. Drop some to counteract entertainment and television that constantly be psychologically abusing women. And to you suckers, man, y'all better get concerned. You were born of a woman, and to a woman you shall return. It's like my mom's raised me on free cheese and compassion. Latest fashion was absent like I was for most of my junior high classes, but still was taught fundamentals of life. Love God, love family, love children and wife. So to those in the day-to-day bombarded with misconception, remember your insecurity is your best quality. Your imperfection is your perfection. That's right. I said my mom's one, and yeah, my sister's one too. So I guess it ain't no wonder that I see them in you. Said double X genes, complex genes, show them respect genes. Double X genes, complex genes. Said my grandma's one, yeah, my mom's one too. So I guess it ain't no wonder that I see them in you. Said double X genes, complex genes, show them respect genes. Double X genes, complex genes.
Santa Cruz, Prundale, KSQD, Santa Cruz, KSQT, Prundale. You're listening to the show of Omar Dieguez from the streets. Today we have a very special guest in the studio, Ricardo Chavez, longtime activist, longtime hip-hop artist, son of Dolores Huerta, and we're going to have a serious talk today, and we're going to bring some healing to the community and answer some questions. Well, at some point, we will open the phone lines for people to call in and ask questions. Ricardo's here to share some knowledge and some healing and some a great message. But like I always like to start my shows, you know, I like to always give thanks to the Creator for allowing me to do these things, for allowing me to sit here with our guest and to bring healing, communication, empowering our community through radio, through truth, through a strong message to uplift our community. And our community has always been built on struggle, sacrifice, and truth. We come from farm worker organizations, mothers, fathers, people who gave everything so future generations could have a voice. But with that history, we also have responsibility to be honest, to listen, and to hold space for truth even when it hurts. Recent serious allegations came forward connected to one of the most well-known figures in the farm worker movement, Cesar Chavez. These stories have impacted many people, survivors, families, and other broader community. Tonight is not about tearing down a movement. This is about lifting up truth, accountability, and healing. Because a real movement, a strong movement, is one that can face itself. We're joined tonight with Ricardo Chavez, organizer, artist, and someone who grew up inside this history. We're going to talk about what it was like growing up around Dolores Huerta and Cesar Chavez, the work he's doing today. And we're also going to have real conversations about allegations, about accountability, and about healing. This is a space for truth, not harm. Because at the end of the day, our people deserve dignity, our women deserve safety, and our movement deserves truth. So let's begin. Ricardo, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
All right.
So, how was, tell me, how was the drive down here? I mean, you came all the way from Pacifica and to be on the radio show to talk to us. Mm-hmm. I really appreciate you being here today. How was the drive?
I wish I would have took the coast route because the rain is so, it's like, talk about healing, man, and cleansing. The rain is special. I just wish I would have been on the coast instead of sitting on the, what do you call it, the 85.
Yeah.
Or the one would have been nice. But it was cool. I made it here safe.
Yeah. Well, let's jump right into it, Ricardo. First of all, like, again, I like to, give you thanks for coming down. I know that, you're taking time out of your day to come down here and to talk about something serious with us. And not only that, we also want to talk about all the work that you've been doing in the community with the movement. You're not only an organizer, you're also a hip hop artist. You're also a hemp grower and 1,000 other things that you do in the community. So, again, thank you for taking time out of your day to come out here and being on the show. You grew up surrounded by the movement, organizing, sacrifice. What was it like as a child growing up in the movement?
It was very interesting. It was different. I mean, we didn't know it was different at the time. To us, it was normal. I think by the time I started becoming a teenager, I started to realize, like, wait a minute, something different here going on with us, because we were taught from a very young age to think critically and to question authority. And, I mean, obviously, that comes with its backlash from, schools and different, institutions. But, we were, being taught about, the Iran-Contra war as it was happening. Like, that was one of the big things that was happening in the movement at the time. And we're still, we knew other kids that grew up in the movement, especially as we were teenagers. We started to, like, find our like some of our kindred spirits out there.
Yeah.
Kids that grew up, in the Black Power struggle, grew up in the, the anti-war in El Salvador. And we had some amazing role models.
And what is one of the, like, first memories you have about growing up in the movement? And growing up, I mean, you grew up in a big movement that's been around for a long time, the UFW movement.
Well, from what I remember, it was never the UFW movement. It was just the movement. If you grew up in the Black Power struggle, you grew up in the movement.
Yeah.
If you grew up in the anti-war, you just grew up in the movement. So I remember as kids, we didn't see it as like, oh, I grew up into this movement and you grew up into that movement. Yeah. We were just in the movement and we were all allied. Like the first city that got rid of grapes during the first grape boycott before I was even born was Oakland. But why did that happen? Who facilitated that? It was the Black Panthers.
Yeah.
And so I just get chills thinking about it. Like, yo, we all had each other's back. And that even went on until, so we didn't really identify, when it came to identity, our identity politics weren't based around like, oh, my raza so much, because like I grew up, a lot of my tios were the Filipino brothers,
And did you feel like your childhood was different from growing up in the movement? And like, did you feel like there was you had a different upbringing, just growing around those struggles? I mean,
yeah, I mean we were dropped off at supermarkets. I'd be 8 years old. My niece Deneen was like 10 years old, and they would drop me and her off with a stack of flyers, or leaflets, we called them. They were a stack of leaflets. Hey, boycott Lucky. And we'd get cussed out by these people going in, and some people would be like, okay, great, I'll go somewhere else. But other people would tell us, go back to Mexico, you little commies. And we'd be like, we can't, we don't have a ride. They left us here. And then they'd come back a bit later and get us, I mean, that we grew up with that sense of independence. And it gave us some very special, like, superpowers to be able to not be scared to, like, approach people, just cold, hey, please don't shop here. And we got some pretty tough skin.
So it's safe to say that at a young age you learn how to advocate for yourself and advocate for others. Yeah,
I mean, we just were basically, it was mission critical. Kids were being born in McFarland, California, and throughout the whole Central Valley, and even here in the Salinas Valley and other agricultural regions of the West Coast and probably the whole country. Our people are being born with cancer rates 1,100 times that of the national average. And they're still sometimes Republican, but even sometimes Democrat, state assembly members or state senators who are going to go, oh, well, we'll just put this into a research bill, and instead of just like, yo, let's go for an all-out ban. And this is 30, 40 years later.
Yeah.
That's all.
We're still dealing with some of these.
So,
and when you say like the all-out ban, you're referring to pesticides and stuff like that?
Pesticides, my brother.
Yeah.
Pesticides, herbicides.
Yeah, that struggle is real. I mean, we'll still, a lot of people are still fighting that.
I lost two people just this year.
Really? Yeah.
Both younger than me.
Really? Wow, I'm sorry to hear that. If you don't mind sharing their names so we could put their, prayers for those people out there that you lost.
Right? Just say my brother Indio, because that's his alias. But
okay. Well, rest in peace, Indio, and thank you for your sacrifice. What was it like growing up, being the son of Dolores Huerta? What was it like being? I mean, Cesar Chavez was your uncle.
So he was a big deal back then. She wasn't really that big of a deal back then. I mean, maybe in like movement circles, but not really like like in the general public. We weren't walking around people just like straight out recognizing her, you know. So that's a newer thing. But as a child, it was like I said, man. I mean, we were, you know, it was very much like we were taught that we had an obligation, you know, like we had an obligation to our fellow human beings, you know, to like, if we saw something, say something, do something, you know. Don't just. Yeah, we were taught pretty young, like the difference between an activist and an organizer. You know what I mean? Which, not to knock activists, like, yo, that's a very important part of it.
Right.
But, you know, organizers like a next step, you know what I mean? And so you can just imagine, like, I wish I would have been a little older so I could have seen, like, all of them. You know, all the people I read about in the history, you know, the Larrys, the Phillips. You know, some of the other, like, you know, like Luis in those early days. Like, I wish I could have experienced that, you know, but I was too young. I got to know some of them in my, you know, as I got older. Yeah. But it was different, you know. Like my older siblings, they were there, like, and when it was happening, like when it was beginning, you know. I was born in '73, which was probably one of the harder years. It's when two of the martyrs, you know, of the 5 martyrs of the UFW, two Naji Daifala and Juan de la Cruz were murdered. And I was in my mom's womb when all this happened. And so sometimes I think, you know, like I'm sure, I just feel like, we grew up with a certain anxiety as well, because we didn't know that, you know, even when I was old enough to realize what was going on, we lost 2 more martyrs in the early 80s, or I think it might have been 79 and 81. But I was old enough to recognize the grief and what was going on. And, you know, that I think really, and a lot of what I see online going on about this, when they talk about Cesar Chavez and, you know, relationship with Synanon, and, you know, that a lot of people are not, just for context purpose, are not understanding that we were literally at war. Like our people were being killed, offices were being blown up, cars were being blown up. COINTELPRO was in full effect until '71, and then FBI surveillance continued after that, like up until the day the man died. And for all I know, it's still going on. I don't know. We're all still involved in the movement. So
you know, I read that New York article, and it talked about Cesar Chavez, you know, having bodyguards. It talked about him carrying a gun for his protection.
I don't believe that for a second. I mean, I don't want to sit here and discredit anybody, but that's just, he was pretty against guns. But at that time, what can I say? I wasn't there. I wasn't there at that moment, and I'm like, could I blame him for having a gun at that moment? I mean, I know there was people actively trying to kill him, you know, like they were trying to kill a lot of them, you know. I don't feel at liberty to discuss the details of some of the things that happened. Obviously, it's well known what happened to my mom in '88. Yeah. But violence against, you know, nonviolent movement is just that's baked into the U.S. history.
Right. And was there ever a moment where you realized, you know, this isn't just a family, it's history, it's a big deal, like being part of this family? Like, did you ever realize that at some point growing up?
I mean, I think I always knew that, but I think that it really, really hit me at his funeral. I think that's when I was 19. That was an interesting year, you know. Had some pretty, I was very close with my uncle. I had my own unique relationship with him. I'm not saying I was like his closest nephew, nothing like that, you know what I mean? Like, I was younger, but I did have some very special moments. And I just, like, when he died, it was very sudden. Like, we didn't expect it. And so I think that when his funeral, when all those people came out, you know, just to see 30,000 people turn out, I think that's when it hit me. Like, I was like, whoa, you know, and I helped build the coffin. Me and my dad, my nephew Pokey, and my brother-in-law Eduardo, we built his coffin. I mean, really, it was my dad and Eduardo doing most of it, but me and Pokey did a lot of sanding. So, you know what I'm saying? You know, we built it, and then I helped dig the hole. Me, my homie Emilio Zavala, his brother Marcelino, and a guy named Sergio. Like, we dug the hole from the first piece of dirt.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so they hit me then.
And what did you see behind the scenes that people don't usually hear about growing up, around Cesar Chavez and growing up around Dolores Huerta, your mom, and what is there anything that you've seen that was behind the scenes that people don't know that you want people to know?
I mean, these were regular people, man, flawed human beings,
Yeah.
Obviously some of the things I was privy to after the fact, but some of the things that are in that article I've known for years, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Not everything, but some of the things.
Yeah.
And I just some of the things were a huge surprise to me, so I was like, okay. And other things I was like, you hear a lot of things. I heard like, that they just, you just hear so much crazy stuff over the years, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that they shoot first and talk later. Like, no, they don't. I don't. You know what I mean? I grew up there. I knew that wasn't happening.
Yeah.
So I've heard some pretty outlandish stuff over the years. But that he had a mansion and here and there. If you were looking at it from the freeway at the headquarters, La Paz, like you would think, okay, that's a big old mansion. No, it's a repurposed old tuberculosis hospital. Mm-hmm. It was haunted. There was ghosts there. That's a lot of people don't know. That's one of the back behind the scenes things. Is we grew up in La Paz, so I'm from the second generation of Union kids probably, and we grew up in La Paz. Mm-hmm. And it was 2 abandoned hospitals, and so there's things like that. And so we grew up really in a tight-knit community, and people might be like, oh, it was like a cult. And I'm like, well, no, it was a security apparatus. I mean, there was still pretty violent acts happening up until when I was about 10 years old. Mm-hmm. And I left La Paz when I was 16. So when you think back at it, it was like, so I'd say this behind the scenes. This is the biggest thing. This was a visionary organization. Mm-hmm. A lot of the vision came from Cesar. It was just very visionary. I mean, even Larry Leon was very visionary. Larry was the one who, and supported, 100% supported, was that one who had the idea to do the retirement home, the Agbayani Village. Larry wasn't still with the union at the time that it was finished, but, Pete Velasco, Phil Vera Cruz, my dad's, Ricardo Chavez, they made it happen, and the Agbayani Village still stands today. It's still a retirement home for farm workers in need, and it's not the only one now. Like, that vision grew into something bigger. They did the farm worker housing. Through the National Farm Worker Service Center. They did the clinics. They had the gas stations. They had the law program where you could go to law school there. You could be a farm worker coming out the fields or the child of a farm worker, and do law school there, and work for your keep and pay for your education that way. Mm-hmm. You could learn accounting. You could learn medical billing. You could learn, they had an apprenticeship program that you could learn construction. You could learn, it was really, really visionary. Mm-hmm. Like what they had set up. They had the second biggest print shop west of the Mississippi, where they did, a lot of Talla Gráfico, a lot of the El Malcriado, the magazine. Mm-hmm. And we would go sometimes when there was big campaigns. We had to, we're kids. We always put us to work. So it would be like we'd be there collating. A lot of people don't know what collating is. Well, it was before they had the Xerox machines that did that. They would print them out of a ditto machine, and then we'd walk around a table, and there'd be stacks of all these different papers. We walk around and, grab the last page and put the next page, and then the first page would go on the top. And then hand it to somebody else, and they'll put the front and the back on it, and then some other kid would, It was a process. It was a process, but everybody, sometimes it was all hands on deck, We also had like a community garden. We really lived on donations. There ain't nobody there was balling, bro. We were all very poor, but we weren't as poor and as in need as the people that we were doing the work to try and help. So we always knew that we were doing it for a greater good, And it's not like there was like some separation of like, oh, we're just trying to we lived in the area. So some of my girlfriends were like, their parents were, card carrying members of the union, and others, they were farm workers, but they weren't with the union. Maybe they didn't like the union. I don't know. It's just, we grew up in that environment. So if you grew up in the fields or around agriculture, you know what's up. You know what I'm talking about.
Right on. We're right here with Ricardo Chavez. and we are talking about Dolores Huerta and the allegations that came out. And let's just jump into it, Ricardo. I just want to give you the opportunity to talk about this however you want to talk about it, and as much as you want to share. But these allegations came out against Cesar Chavez, and a lot of people, when these allegations came out, a lot of people were hurt. They didn't know how to react to what was said, and a lot of people attacked Dolores Huerta, your mother, about it. Why did she wait so many years? Why now? Cesar Chavez is not here to defend himself. I mean, how did it make you feel when you heard the news, and what were your thoughts, and what was your mom? How did she take it when she came out? I mean, what was it like to be part of this devastating news that came out?
Well, I would say to the first thing about why now, I would say why not. And she was very clear in the article. And I know a lot of people didn't get to read the whole article for whatever reasons they may have. And so a lot of people are going off of information that they heard on. A lot of people were probably going off of information they heard on YouTube or Insta or whatever. And they're just reacting to things they heard other people say, as opposed to like actually seeing what. And so she explained very, very, very clearly why she came out. She wanted to come out to support the women that came out and made the allegations about what had happened to them years before. And to the people who say, he's not here to defend himself, I think that's obvious. But I think that also those people should notice that, like, his family hasn't come out trying to discredit the victims. And I think what that says more than anything is how they have class, man. These are classy people. And they're not going to do that, Maybe they have an inclination to want to come out and defend. I mean, who wouldn't? Like, I want to come out and defend my mom, for whatever she said. But in the end of the day, I think that when I say class, I'm not talking about, socioeconomic class. I'm talking about cultural class. Like, let's have class. There's people here that are saying these things happen to them, and it might not fit the narrative of what makes you feel comfortable, or what it that's it. If it hurts, it should hurt. You know what I mean? This is a painful moment for all of us as a people, and I don't think this is hitting me any different than it's hitting some random person down the street. But I think that our reactions are going to be different. Obviously, how does my gut feel about it? I'm biased. My gut, that's my uncle.
Right.
Like I said, I built the box, I dug the hole, I knew the man, and that's my mother. I love her, like, and so people might be like, what? That's so my mom. Was with my father, Richard Chavez, and
which is Richard Chavez. So the people that don't know, is that Cesar Chavez's
younger brother? Yes,
younger brother. Yeah.
And so there's more things that came out in the article. That fact that my mother and him have 2 children together, that my mother and Cesar have 2 children together. So when I first found out about the article that was going to come out, I was like, what? And then a few weeks later, my mom told me, hey, this is going to be my statement. And I was like, what? That's my first time hearing that, Yeah. So, I had a couple more weeks ahead of everybody else to process it. And, it was hard for me. Like, it was a lot of what you're hearing people say in the public, that's what I was saying. Because I was like, what?
Yeah.
But, it's not my story to tell, man. That's not my experience, that I didn't go through that.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's really important, you'll see in the comments a lot of times people saying like, I don't trust her. And I'll just tell people, but if it was your daughter.
How would you feel?
Yeah,
How would you react?
Just please, when your daughter says it, even if you don't trust her, at least pay her the respect every woman deserves. You know what I mean? And that's really what it comes down to. And I'm not saying it's like I'm conflicted myself. People got to know that. Like, this is very hard for us to take, because we're so in it, and do I know my sisters? Yes, I do know my sisters. They ain't some secret, what I mean? Like, I've known them since, for the most of my life, I've known them. And we have, our brother-sisters relationships, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Good times, bad times, but that's just like I do with the siblings that that I was raised with. And it's also another thing that's important to understand is, one, we grew up in the Union, as like a lot of other Gen Xers. You always see this whole thing about latchkey kids. Like, yo, a lot of us were latchkey kids because our parents were working all the time. It's just sometimes our parents weren't coming home late or tired when they didn't come home because they were out on a campaign. So a lot of my upbringing was, I was raised by my older siblings a lot of the time, and so for the questions that people have, like, about, like, oh, she did this, she did that, and they want to pass all these judgments. Just like, I get it, maybe you grew up in a traditional household. We didn't. And at the same time, we just did not grow up in a traditional household. We didn't grow up in a traditional setting. Nothing about our lives was traditional. So if it doesn't fit your traditional narrative, I get that. If for some reason you can't respect that, I'll take it to one thing. Like, for instance, another thing I see in the comments, right? And this has to do with the backlash, like all the catalytic, just to explain what a catalytic reaction is. It's like, imagine you have a rat trap and you throw a rat trap on the ground. Boom. If it's already triggered, then it goes off, right? If it's set, it triggers. But if you throw that same rat trap into a room full of rat traps and you throw it back, clip, it goes off and it starts setting off a bunch of rat traps, right? And so this is a catalytic kind of a reaction that you're seeing in the public. And the reason why I say that is, like, now I'm seeing people coming out, oh yeah, Cesar Chavez hated immigrants. No, he didn't. Oh, well, he said, can I say the word wetback on here? Can I say that?
Yes.
Because I'm saying it in the context of.
Yes.
And I want people to understand, and I'm not trying to defend. I'm just giving people context again. When I was in second, third grade, they showed us a film called Paco the Wetback Hound. It was a Disney film. They showed it to us in classroom. Maybe you guys didn't see that growing up here. Where I grew up, we saw that. They showed it. And not just once. I saw it several times growing up. It was a much more acceptable term. Not saying it was right. A lot of young Chicano activists in the 70s and the 80s fought to have that, like, nah, you can't say that word. Like, we can say mojado amongst ourselves, but you can't say that word. Like, you know what I mean? And respect. But at the time in 1971, when Cesar Chavez said that, it didn't carry the contempt, especially coming from him. And I'm gonna prove everybody wrong right here, because in 1986 there was an amnesty passed where millions of people got their path to citizenship and got their citizenship. Dolores Huerta, Cesar Chavez, the United Farm Workers were fundamental in the passing of that law, in the authoring of that law. And that's just facts. It's just facts. So you can say whatever you want to say, but if I'm coming with receipts, I'm coming with the proof. And why do I know this? Well, because I grew up in it. I remember my mom being gone for months at a time. I remember Cesar and everybody out there campaigning to get this done, and they got it done. So what he was speaking to in reference to that moment was, he was speaking to the fact that people were being deported from downtown Los Angeles, Maquilas, everything, but there were buses coming across with braceros to the fields just to break the strike. Those workers were not being brought across with any rights. They were being forced into labor camps. It was illegal across the board. A lot of those workers he was talking about walked out of the fields and joined the strike, and a lot of them were original strikers. And I'm just giving you the real. Like, if you want, you could go back and research it, and you're gonna find a lot of people who are like, nah, my dad was a farm worker, he didn't like Cesar Chavez. Hey, there was people that were for the union, and there were people that were against the union. It's just the way that it was. And there's even people who were within the union or within the movement in general that were like, nah, we don't like that dude. And that was one of the big criticisms that Larry Leong had. And he never called out Cesar by name, but he didn't like the direction. Him and Philip both said they didn't like the direction the union was going, because they didn't believe in figureheads. These dudes were older than Cesar by at least 15 to 20 years. And they had extensive history in being organizers, right? Labor organizers. Larry Leong, going back to the early 50s, he helped found the Alaska,
And for the listeners that don't know who Larry Leon is,
he's one of the co-founders, Filipino brother. And so now that's another thing you're seeing, a lot of division. People are like, well, the Filipinos started it and Caesar took all the credit. No, that's not what happened. So Larry was there from the beginning till about 1971. So that's about 9 years. At the time Caesar died, he was already been there for 30 years. My mother had been there for 30 years. You know, so I'm not discounting anything. Larry was he was the man, you know.
He was part of that movement.
And he has a history that goes back way before that. Like I said, to the early 50s, 10 years before the founding of the UFW. In fact, Larry and Philip Veracruz were involved in the early 50s in a asparagus strike, a big one, in Stockton, California. And Dolores Huerta's dad, my grandpa, Juan Fernandez, was one of the co-organizers with them. So this is not just like, there was this group of people over here that didn't know this group of people over. There's a lot of crossover there.
Yeah.
Now, my mom hadn't met Larry until later in the early 60s when he was the vice president of the Filipino Workers Association or something like that. You know, it was like, he was a very well-respected man in Stockton, California. My mom's from Stockton, and she was a CSO organizer. And Fred Ross Sr. had called her and said, hey, you know, there's the AFL-CIO has interest to start. You know, they want to try and do a farm workers, organizing committee there in Stockton. So we reached out to my mom. So my mom went out and talked to people from a bunch of different communities. African-American community. There was a lot of people still working in the fields, a lot of African-Americans at that time. There were Okies still working in the fields at that time. Obviously the Mexican people and then the Filipinos. And she was told by a lot of people, hey, you want to talk to the Filipinos, you got to talk to Larry. And my mom went and she met with Larry in his kitchen, and they all came together to form the AWA, which was the Agricultural Workers Association, which later became AWAC, Agricultural Workers Organizing Committee. The thing is that once they had their General Assembly, these white guys came in from, the Midwest or the East Coast, and they're, thanks, hon, go make the coffee, make the copies,
Yeah.
So I tried to put her on secretary status, and she was like, no, I'm going back to Delano, because they had already started with the National Farm Workers Association. And the National Farm Workers Association didn't start off as a labor union. It started off as a community organization where they were helping people with their papers, helping people with their taxes. They were building helping people with insurance. They were building something that would be the foundation for a union.
Yeah.
They still needed a couple more years to get it all together before they would do a general strike.
Right.
But then the AWAC guys went on strike, and there was no way they weren't going to support them. So then they went, and those two organizations, the National Farm Workers Association and the Agricultural Workers Organizing Committee, merged to create the UFWOC, which later became the United Farm Workers of America. And so for people to think that somehow Caesar slighted Larry and his history, it's just inaccurate. Yeah. Larry had been organizing for years before that, so had Caesar. That's like saying, well, CSO did that to Caesar, it's just Caesar did these 30-day strikes, 26-day strikes. I mean, I think that, and the history goes a lot longer after that, you know what I mean? And so for people to be like, no, they slighted the Filipino brothers. I grew up around a lot of the Filipino brothers. They were my tios right there at the Agbayani village, you know what I mean? Like, I grew up running around there playing, So for me, it's just the narratives that are told. And a lot of this stuff, to be honest, man, was taught in academia, of all places, bro, where they go and to me, it's poison. That division and the identity politics they get involved with, it's just poison.
Yeah.
That wasn't the deal. It just wasn't. In Florida, the majority of the membership was Haitian and Jamaican and African American. It was a multicultural union that the federal government, during certain times, and one of the strongest lobbies, basically two of the strongest lobbies, petrochemical, because that's where all the pesticides and the fertilizers all come from petrochemical, and the agricultural, I guess the Western Growers Association. We're constantly trying to kill the union, not just with laws but also with bullets.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing the. When I first met you up in, I think it was Redwood City, when they had the Dolores documentary. Dolores went through a lot of mistreatment from men. You know, they gave her a hard time all the time, you know, because she was a woman.
Yeah.
And
machismo.
Machismo. You know, and I mean, she's one of the strongest women now at 96 years old, still out in the community, still organizing, helping people out. I mean,
she's a rock, bro.
Yeah, she's a solid rock. And,
but she is a human being, and that's the thing I want people to really like to sit with them. It's just like, especially for the guys, you know, well, why now? You know, it's well, because this was always gonna happen. If she ever came out with this was gonna happen. And a lot of people don't realize, like, when she was a single mother, toting around 7 children, you know, a lot of the women in the movement were saying the same things you're seeing people say now. So I don't want to say it's nothing new to her. It's an old wound that has now been reopened. And to see some people react like that, and, you know, you see, you know, this is why a lot of women don't come out, because the first reaction of a lot of the community, not just the men, you know, because machismo can come from women too. And that's just like feminism can come from men. And the reaction is I'm guilty too. Yeah. But the reaction is gonna be to want to shame somebody. Yeah. And that's why a lot of women don't come out when this happens to them. You're seeing it happen. You know. So all I do is I just say, hey, you know what? Let's just pray for our daughters that they don't have to go through this, and that if they do, that they're gonna have the support they need when they come and they let us know. They don't have to be worried about their dad grabbing a gun and going and ruining his life. You know. That there's tools. We have ways to deal with this as a community. You know, we're a conquered people, and I think that gets past us a lot. We're a conquered people, and you don't want to acknowledge that, especially if you have a lot of pride or you're, you know. But in the end of the day, you know, people don't realize that the word colonization is rooted in the word colon. Cristobal Colon, and we have to remind ourselves of that every day, man. Like, that's what colonization is. It's based on the premise of the actions of this man, you know, Christopher Columbus, who came here to rape, steal, and pillage.
And you know, a lot of people, you know, when this news came out, there was a lot of people quick to say ugly things about Dolores, but what people like, what I like what you said, she's human. She's human, and you know, how do we come out? And that's some big news. And I think in one of the articles, she said something about keeping it a secret because she didn't want to hurt the movement. Yeah. You know?
A lot of people wouldn't understand that.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't understand that because they didn't know the world before the Union, before the toilets were in the fields, before the clean water was in the fields. They didn't know that world. They just, and a lot of people, they don't even understand where their food comes from. You know, they see it already, and the salad's already in the bag. You know,
they don't know what all the hard labor that it takes to baggage that salad, to process it,
and some people
grow it and all that stuff. Yeah, and some people do. Yeah,
yeah.
And you know what? Being an activist myself and an organizer, I mean, the sacrifice that your mom had to do to silence, to not hurt the movement. I mean, the hurt that she had to carry for so many years. I mean, that's really I don't even know what the right words are, but it's like
called forgiveness.
Yeah.
The word you're looking for is called forgiveness.
Yeah. And it's called forgiveness.
It's forgiveness. He was still a great friend of hers. It's called forgiveness, and I know people can't understand that, but just look to your good book. Yeah. Read those passages. Yeah. And try to walk that way if you can, and if you can't, you know, and you know.
Well, you know what, and I'm gonna tell you right now, there's gonna probably be a lot of people that are gonna be like, how can you forgive somebody for what he did, and especially to the younger ladies. You know, I mean, but like you said,
at the same time, you can't just. So there's a big thing that other people are saying. They're saying, but you know, where's the proof? You're not gonna get your proof. You're just not. You're not gonna get that. You know, if he's not here to defend himself, that's true. He's not, and I think that I struggle with that too. You know, I'm like, man, like, but in the end of the day, you know, those women coming out with their stories, I don't think it's gonna hurt any more than it's hurting right now. Which I think that there's two things I see, right? There's people, and I feel both sides. Like, you know, the one side is like, man, that was quick. We didn't even get to see the, you know, like this hasn't even gone, like, it's just the court of public opinion just turned so fast, right? And like the where's the proof crowd. But then there's the other side where I've seen people be like, I seen this one video, this one black lady, she was like, man, she's y'all Chicanos just handle business. They don't waste no time. They get to it. You see that? See that right there? That's how it's supposed to be done. So I was like, okay, I see both sides. But so there's one side of it. It's like, man, like, you know, if the greater population would deal with their president right now, who is here. That's
crazy.
And who's not even trying, you know, I mean, this is a very unique case right here.
It is.
You know, it's just, there's nothing like it. I don't think, I could be wrong, but if I go back through U.S. history, I don't think I can find another situation similar, quite like this, you know? Maybe, you know, I have to let you know this too. Like, I know these people. So these women who are making these allegations, of course I know my mom, but the ones who are making the allegations, I know them. Like, know them. Like, some of them I know them. The other ones I kind of knew as a little kid.
Yeah.
But other ones I was either, they were like older kids or like just young adults when I was a kid, or like I still grew up with them, even though they were much older than me. I grew up with their kids, or their little brothers and sisters. So like, I known them for years, you know, and I saw the struggles in some cases, not like firsthand, but I saw the struggles they went through. I know, man, life is real, you know, and so for people who don't understand all that and they want to make it all about Dolores, they'll be like, wow, you know, I believe the other people, but I don't believe Dolores. And it's like, that's fine. And you're free to do that. That's fine.
Everybody has the right to think what they want.
Exactly, bro. And people have come up with all these elaborate conspiracy theories. And I'm like, man, imagine the conspiracy theories that are in my head. You know, because I'm like, I know. I mean, I got the FBI files on my phone right here. I've been going through them for longer than this. And it's mind-blowing to me. It's mind-boggling to me. And boy, the conspiracy theories I could come. But in the end of the day, the thing to focus on right now is like, yo, these same things are happening in a lot of your families out there. And you know it.
Yes.
You know it's happening. You know those allegations are out there.
Yeah.
You know? So I think we need to, man, what was that line from Aslan Underground? You know the group Aslan Underground?
I know Aslan Underground.
Domestic violence and child molestation are the symptoms of a conquered nation. Something like that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that, yo. Got your words wrong, brother. But I'm just saying, like we got this. This is our chance to step up as a family. I'm not even saying as a community or no, or as a country. Like, nah. At this point, I am identity politics straight up. Like, as a Raza family, I say as a family. You know, for the people that are out there like, oh, they're just trying to destroy Cesar Chavez because he would have been MAGA, that's pure BS, people. Like, that's just nonsense.
Yeah.
Those people are just MAGA people, and they'll attach themselves to anything. They're the racists. They're just trying to say, oh, Cesar Chavez was like, no, he wasn't. He was not. That's just complete nonsense. So,
you know, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Like, when this news came out, like, you already talked about this, but Cesar Chavez was erased immediately from the walls, from streets, from buildings, from murals, and man, it happened so quick. Like, it didn't even give people the chance to like even process what happened, right? But we have a president that's sitting with all these accusations and all this evidence as a president, and we can't even, like, how does that make you feel knowing that?
I mean, it's the same thing. Go into courtrooms and see how black people are treated for the same crime or lesser crimes than compared to white people. We have a racist justice system. That's just what it is. This guy's sitting in the top seat, so he's going to be all right. Now, as far as the Cesar Chavez thing goes, I knew the man. He was very humble. He would not have a problem with them tearing down statues. Now, if you start trying to take those toilets out the fields, you start trying to take that clean drinking water out, you start trying to destroy the dignity of the actual workers, he would have a problem with that. Everybody needs to recognize that. He wouldn't have a problem with the rest of this. That was not who he was. He wasn't into that. He wasn't about himself like that. But if you start trying to undo the work that him, Philip, Larry, Dolores, I mean, all of them, man.
Yeah,
all the founders, bro.
movement.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Everybody that marched, everybody that...
all the workers
yeah,
that the ones that died.
Yeah. And you know, how do we move forward, bro? How do we, like, this is devastating for a lot of people because they looked up to Cesar Chavez. But how do we, like, I mean, I see this
move
as
forward like this. So when Gilbert Padilla left the United Farm Workers Union, he didn't stop working for workers' rights. Okay? When Larry Itleon left the United Farm Workers, he didn't stop working for workers' rights. And right now, everybody at the United Farm Workers Union that's currently existing, they haven't stopped fighting for farm workers' rights. We have a crisis right now. Farm workers are dying of cancer, being sprayed, having poison sprayed on them right now. And that's the one criticism that was really intelligent and visionary about Philip and Larry. This is why figureheads can be detrimental. It's great to honor people for what they've done. That's awesome. It's okay to dismantle people's image for what they've done. That's fine. But it's the work. My mom's not here to be adorned. Caesar wasn't here to be adorned. And for those of people who are like, oh, the credit goes to Larry. Larry wasn't here to be adorned. These people did the work. They were here to get stuff done, not to be stuff.
Yeah.
You got me?
Yeah.
So that's the lesson you take away from it. Get busy, people. We are at a critical stage right now. This guy's trying to start World War III to hide his past doings.
Yeah.
We got bigger fish to fry. This is important. I think the biggest lesson we can take from this is these things are happening in your families, you know? And it's about making young women feel empowered to speak their truth. Should they feel like they want to and not. If they don't want the whole world knowing, then don't tell the whole world. If they confide in you, hold their confidentiality. That's my feeling.
Yeah. Well, you're listening to KSQD Santa Cruz, KSQT Prunedale. You're on From the Streets with your host, Omar Diaz. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. That's right. You're listening to KSQD Santa Cruz, KSQT Prunedale. You're on From the Streets with Omar Dieguez. In the studio, we have Ricardo Chavez. He came out here, took some time out of his day to come and talk to us about his mother, Dolores Huerta, talk about Cesar Chavez and the allegations that happened, and to try to bring some kind of understanding and healing to this this news that came out that shocked a lot of people in the world. Ricardo, man, you know, that's a lot to process, a lot to take in. We already talked about how we move forward and all that stuff. And how's your mom doing? How's she been? I know she just turned 96 a couple like a week or two ago or something like that. How's she doing?
Like I said, man, she's a rock. She's human, though. I mean, it's just tough for her, you know. Yeah. You know, a part of me thinks she didn't. I don't think she wanted to do that. I feel like she had an obligation to come out and speak on this, and she got a lot going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think also it's like interesting. I don't know, what do they call her generation? The quiet generation.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like I feel like, you know, like it must be hard to be that age, living in this
96 years old.
Yeah.
I mean,
and still be active and involved.
And she's all
in
over the country. She's all over the country.
Yeah.
I mean, let me ask you this. This has she talked about, I don't even want to say it.
What?
Retiring or taking a break, or do you think that's ever going to happen? Because I know when you're in the movement and dedicated like she is, passionate about what she does, is that even a conversation she's had, or something that's planned in the future, near future? Or does that not exist in her world?
I think you already know the answer to that, brother.
Yeah.
Nah, man. Till the wheels fall off, dog.
Till the wheels fall off.
When she retires, you'll hear about it. It'll be in the news.
Yeah.
It'll be big news, just like this other thing that came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there ain't
no retiring, huh?
Nah, especially now. Everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
existential threat, brother.
More power to her, more power to her. I mean, she's for me, I did the 30-day hunger strike, and throughout that hunger strike, I went to see her a couple times. Once was in Redwood City, and then when she came to Watsonville, and every time she's nearby, I try to make it out. And true inspiration to see her still going and doing the work that she does. And you would think after seeing her several times she would have the same message, but she's always got something new that I learned from her and she brings to the table, so more power to her. And
I mean, if we woke up tomorrow and all workers had rights, and LGBTQ were given their due respect as human beings and protected under the Constitution as they should be. And, I'll just say the color of a man's skin was of no more importance than the color of eyes. Yeah, maybe she would retire, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's not.
She's gonna keep banging.
Yeah, and then, I mean, she's much love to her, much respect, and prayers for her and her journey, and hopefully, she finds healing and finds some kind of, peace. Because I know this is stuff that when this all came out, I'm sure it was tough for the whole family. So I hope she, finds that peace soon so that she can continue to do what she does, shine.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to share about anything about, what came out?
Well, Barrios Unidos, I have a really interesting connection. Because when I was 16... I have been uninvited to return to my high school. And I was in trouble. And my dad was like, you're going to go to the military, or you're going to go to work, or you're going to do something. I was like, man, I just was like, still a rebel. And
Nane.
Yeah, Nane and David Cobos and the whole Veterans Peace Action team came through, and they were going to Big Mountain. Out in Arizona.
Yeah.
There was a blockade going on out there. The federal government was keeping resources from getting into the people. And so, we did a caravan, collected stuff the whole way. They stopped in La Paz. And, when they come and they stay, it's like, some cats need a place to stay. So I was like, Mom, can these guys stay here? She's like, oh, yeah. So, we had guys crashed out there. My mom, she had dipped already. She had to leave that night. So she left. And I told her, hey, I want to go with them to Arizona. She's like, yeah, you can go. Meanwhile, my dad was managing some clinic somewhere. He was like, nah, you're going to go to work over here. He'd already set me up a place, and then I just had some clothes in the dryer, threw them in the trash bag, threw them in the van. I jumped in with those guys, and I took off on like a month-long journey out to the res. So we was out there, and it was real work, man. This was like 1989, 1990.
1989.
90, probably 90. 89, like summer.
Was it before or after the earthquake?
In L.A.?
Well, remember the 89 earthquake
happened? Oh, up here for the...
Yeah,
it was around the same time.
Was it?
Yeah, around the time, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was... No, because the earthquake happened in October.
So
this was in the summer. And we went out there, man, and it was a life-changing experience. You know, I got to see people that I thought, you know, I mean, when I was like in the res, I was like, wow, dude, like I was living like glamorous compared to a lot of stuff on the res, you know. So I was like, wow, man, I got to see, you know, it was just heavy, man, and you know, just to see brothers who were like, yeah, man, we like brothers who may have had like, you know, chemical dependency problems, you know, and people who had issues with violence, you know, turning, and they kind of talked to me about Vados Unidos, and being like, you know, 16 years old, about to be 17, like I was at that age, you know, where it was like, obviously, you know, growing up, you know, around Bakersfield, a lot of my homies were, you know, from one side, and then growing up in the Union and having family in Stockton and San Jose, you know, a lot of my family and friends were on the other side. And so for me to just see that there was like these OG homies who were like, bro, be above all that. Like I got that's that kind of education that saves. Yeah. It saves, you know. I was able to travel and go wherever I wanted.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. We have to do station ID, but we'll be right back. Hold that thought.
All astronomical observatories catch waves, irregular waves that might have been sent from outer space.
Some signals are hard to explain. This one comes from Santa Cruz, KSQD, K-Squid, 90.7 FM, community radio for Earth and beyond.
Puedo olvidar a tanta gente que sufre en cana, víctimas de la necesidad en su lucha por un mejor mañana. A veces quisiera olvidar a este mundo carente de amor, de fe y de vida. Podríamos curar la herida horrible que al mundo separa. No puedo olvidar el canto libre de Víctor Jara. No puedo aceptar tanto acto de impunidad.
KSQD Santa Cruz, KSQT Prundale. This is Omar Dieguez, and you're on From the Streets with Ricardo Chavez in the studio, sharing with us a lot of history, a lot of giving us glecha, you know, a lot of perspective of somebody that is living it in the movement, in behind the scenes and all that, with the recent allegations against Cesar Chavez from, you know, Dolores Huerta, which we're not discrediting Dolores Huerta. She was a victim along with all the other women that were victims. One of the questions I want to ask you is, as young people are watching this closely right now, they heard this news, and what do you want them to take away from this moment? What do you want them to understand about what happened, and you know, what do you want them to take away from this moment?
I would hope that, man, it's tough for me, you know what I mean? But I would hope that what's taken away at this moment is just that, to observe, you know, and to try to understand a lot of what the reactions, the impulsive reactions of people, a lot of times are, it's their feelings, their emotional reactions in a lot of cases. And that, you know, it's okay to feel things and to have emotion. It's okay to hurt. But it's not fair to hurt others intentionally, you know. Sometimes you have to say things to people, you know, if that's how you truly feel, then, you know, that's okay. But I feel like I think having empathy is the biggest, the most powerful tool I think that we have, you know. Empathy is big. You know, to understand, like, okay, well, why is that person saying that? That's wrong. We go, okay, you could feel that, but then maybe try to understand why they might be saying that or why they feel that way. I mean, you know, how many of these people that are reacting that way did their, like, you know, 6th grade school report on Cesar Chavez, or, you know, I mean, shoot, I seen some people got him tattooed on them, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's tough, man. Like, you got to understand, this is like it's a big moment. And you know, absorb it and just understand, have empathy, even for those people who are saying things that offend you. You know, if you can't educate them, if you can't, that's okay. Just give them space to feel what they're feeling. This is a moment, and this moment will pass.
And you know, and a lot of the elders that did a lot of the work alongside of Cesar Chavez, like, I've sat down and talked with them, and they're like, they don't even know what to think, they don't even know what to feel. They're still in shock, you know, and they're still like, they don't know how to process it.
But I also think that that's also indicative of older generations. They never had a Me Too movement, you know. It's those are things you don't talk about, even in our peers, right? You know, Gen X, like, there's a lot of times this is something we didn't get into, because if we did, we were told, well, you know, what did you learn? That's your fault. You know what I mean? Somehow you will get blamed for it, and I know this to be a fact. But we're evolving as a society, you know, and for some people it just seems so unjust that somebody can make an allegation about somebody and then, you know, erase their legacy. And all I can say to that, and that the only thing I can think and know in my heart that gives me any solace in this moment is the fact that, like, well, you know, this could all be true, and two things could be true at the same time. Could have done all these great things and done these awful things as well. But I have to, you know, have empathy for these women that are coming out with these things that hurt me to hear. But at the same time, you know, I look at the results of the work that was done, not just by Cesar. It was done by a lot of people. A lot of the names that I named throughout this interview, I named them very specifically for a reason. And there's so many people, so many more names I could say of people that contributed to this. To this, it's mind blowing. And then some of the people that I know who these atrocities happened to, then I have to be like, well, they too, they had the same childhood experience I had. They were, you know, doing collating and helping put together the same thing, leafleting, marching, picketing. In many cases, you know, kind of putting their lives on the line because people were killed in those picket lines, man. During that time, they were a little older than me. They were older than me, so. Yeah. So I you know, it's like, wow, it's heavy, and trauma is real and mental health matters. That's what I would like to say to the young people. Trauma is a real thing. You know, don't think you have to be so tough. Okay, you could learn taekwondo or you know, or you know, grappling or, you know, mixed martial arts, but have a heart. You know, and have empathy. You know, because a real warrior, you know, it comes from your heart, you know, and that's, I think, that we need to focus on right now. You know, for all the macho guys out there, you know what I mean, have a place in your heart, you know, to understand the struggles of others, because, like, what's that in Lakesh, you know, soy el otro tú, I'm the other you. And we have to recognize that. In a moment, we can be very focused right now on our people. This is affecting our people in a big way.
Wow, I mean, there's a lot to think about. A lot of it's a teaching moment right now. You know, it's a moment that we could take it and learn something from it.
Oh yeah.
And move forward in a positive way. Learn from this.
Yes, sir.
But it's really up to us how we take that information, how we take this moment, and move forward as a community, as raza, as people, as humanity. What's something that you haven't talked about that you want people to know? What's something that you want people to know about all this that happened? That you haven't talked about yet.
I haven't talked about my dad.
Let's talk about him.
Yeah, and he was very fundamental in the union, in its foundation. I am my father's son. Just everybody out there listening, I'm my dad's son.
Are you a junior?
Well, not necessarily, and I'll explain to you why.
Okay.
So my father had a wife named Sally, and a beautiful woman, a great mother to her children, and they had a son, and he was junior, and he died in a car accident, tragically, when he was 17 years old, and he passed away, and it was very traumatic for my father, and I my understanding of it is, I can only go by what I was told because I wasn't there, was that it really affected their marriage, and during that time, my mother was going through her own trauma, as was just very publicly aired out.
Yeah.
And I believe they found solace in each other, and they went on to have a relationship for the rest of their lives. For a whole 50-something years or whatever. I don't know, 50, but like 40-something years, until my father passed away. It was close to 50, but and it's hard for people to understand that. I get it, but I that my dad was a great dude. He was actually a pillar in his community. I wouldn't say he was wealthy, but he was well off at the time of the founding of the union, and he wasn't working in the fields no more. He had his own construction company. He was doing his thing, and the people starting the union, my mom, my Tío Cesar, they were really struggling.
Yeah.
And he brought his resources, and it even shows in the Cesar Chavez movie. He owned several houses.
Yeah.
He was doing his thing. He had a boat, he had several cars, and they convinced him to throw his resources into the pot. They started a credit union. He never recouped that. When he left the union in the late 80s, mid to late 80s, he left with nothing. And he went and, he had to leave because he had 2 daughters that were going to go to college, and a third one that was definitely going to college. He didn't have to worry about me. I think he was looking at me like, this dude's going to go to college too. But, he had to leave the union and go make some money so he could support them. And I just know when he left, I know there was a part of him that was like, man, like, there was no severance package. There was nothing like that,
Yeah.
And he went out and he did that. He took care of my sisters. He got them through college, and he took care of us. And, and then he was always still there to support the union and the movement and everywhere he could. Yeah, solid dude, man.
Yeah. And what's one of the best memories you had with your dad?
Well, it was very we clashed a lot, because
just like any
but he was, he was a carpenter.
Yeah.
He was, he was a man's man, he was a hunter and a fisher, and he owned guns, he was like that guy. But he saw me breakdancing and was like, okay. And then when I got a little older, all of a sudden he saw me rapping and trying to make beats and all that, and he was like, this is a fat passing phase. This is not gonna last.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, you know what you're talking about, man. That's not music. That's just sound. So we had these clashes.
Yeah.
And I when I finally decided like, okay, I'm gonna put the music down. And I was already passionate about something else, and I was really passionate about, though I was sober, I didn't use it, and I didn't drink alcohol, but I did get involved in the medical cannabis because I saw what big pharma was doing to society, and I was like, man, this is a wonder drug. And my abuelita had this, the alcohol bottle with the nugs in there to rub on, and my dad told me that she would rub it on us when we were little kids, or when we were little, she would blow it on our faces or whatever. And like, okay, cool, if they had an earache or something, I don't know. That's the stories they told.
It was medicina. Yeah,
it was medicina. So I was like, well, I can get behind this. Yeah. And then I saw the potential for like, well, and I was reading stories about, about people being brought into the country, being told they were going to go work in the strawberries, and then getting sequestered and held in slavery in some farm up in the forest, and being held against their will. And I was like, I gotta learn about this. Not that particularly, but I gotta learn about this industry and try to see if there's a way to bring dignity to it. When I got there and really got involved, I saw the stuff they were spraying. I was like, there's a better way, and I was able to prove it by using organicides, beneficials. And the company that I got into, I brought that passion. It's not that the people that I was working with weren't open to it. It's overwhelming. You're trying to run a business, man. I mean, it takes time to run a business, learn that, and then for your whole staff is potheads, So finally they had this guy who was like sober and was like, yo, I really want to learn this. They're like, could this dude be a fed? But then I'm like, hey, man, like, this is what I come from. They're like, oh, man, this dude ain't no fed, And it really worked out, and I was able to learn something really special. And then once I saw recreational was coming, I got out of recreational because I saw what was going to happen, and it was going to turn into a mess. So I was like, okay, it's not about the scripts anymore. It's going to turn into corporate America. So I got involved with industrial hemp. That was in the, I would say, the research phases with the federal government. And it's a lot of great things you can do with industrial hemp, even with the waste from regular cannabis. You could paper, clothing, housing. There's all kinds of stuff you can do with it. Yeah. And, you can grow a forest in 4 months, and then another one in another 4 months if you're in California. Yeah. And you don't have to cut down trees. You don't have to, import toxic materials from overseas. You can build holistic, healthy homes here, all sourced within the state. Yeah. And I still fight for that. I met with some of the biggest paper companies in the hemisphere to, see about pushing that forward. Mountains move slow. Yeah. And that's what we got to do, And so, that's a lot of my organizing has been behind that. Once I was able to kind of step out of the cannabis thing and not have to be so secretive, and I got into the industrial hemp space, I was able to do a lot of organizing. I wouldn't consider myself a great organizer. I know I have character flaws. Sometimes I'm a little too passionate in my talking and stuff like that, or sometimes I'm culturally insensitive and I offend people. And to anybody out there hearing this, like, my apologies. I recognize it's about myself, and it's been a learning journey for me. There's things I wish I hadn't said to people, things I wish I hadn't done, but what's the past is the past, and I continue to keep learning. And obviously, what happened to my mom when I was 14 years old, with the police assaulting her. So I've always been passionate about, about fighting against police violence. Yeah. And for years, I've been wanting to build this app. After they killed Michael Brown and left him in the street, Trayvon Martin, around that time, I was like, yo, the technology's there. We should build an app to help fight this. And people have built some apps, but after doing hundreds of user interviews, I realized the flaws in those apps, and those were my original thing. Was like, yo, we should do an app that does this. Like, you turn it on and an attorney appears. Well, what happens the first time an attorney doesn't appear? Then your app is bust, you know what I mean? Or, you're going to charge, $6 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month for people to have access to the service. Attorneys ain't cheap. Yeah. So after doing all this, my concept evolved into something completely different. And what I did is I created an app. It's about to release. It's already on the Google Play Store, but it's not yet on the App Store. Hopefully within the next week and a half, it'll be on the App Store.
What's it called?
It's called Our Legal Eye. And it's basically an app where if, you get pulled over by the cops, or, ICE is out in front of your house or your workplace, or, you're just going to your crazy ex-girlfriend's house to get your stuff and you don't want nobody making nothing up on you. Say you're a woman walking down the street late at night and you feel uncomfortable. There's a car following you. You can start streaming live. You can send a push notification to your emergency contacts. They can see this stream live, and they see where you're at on a map. It's in the cloud, so somebody can't just grab your phone and then the video's gone. Like, nah, this is streaming live. But it's not a social media app. It's free to everybody except attorneys. Attorneys pay a subscription fee to be listed on the app. So if you're getting pulled over and they're like, hey, have you been drinking? You could be like, well, let me call this DUI attorney real quick. Or if they're like, you want to call a civil rights attorney in that moment, you can do so. But your emergency contacts also already have access to the file. So say you don't get a chance to do that, they can do it from their side. But the other thing that's really unique about this app is you can request witnesses. So other users of the app within a 3-kilometer radius will get, it's kind of like the whistles, but this one is like on their phones, and it lets them know, hey, somebody's right here on the map and they need witnesses. So you can go there and record.
Wow.
And it's instantaneous, and it's going to work a lot faster than a lot of the, the Google phone number and then calling the dispatches. Like, this is instantaneous.
Yeah.
Everybody gets it, and it's not just like an ICE app. It's not just a Black Lives Matter app. It's not just a like women's safety app. It's a all of us together app. So again, the whole concept of like, there's not these different movements. It's the movement. Yeah, we got to stop saying the this movement, the that movement. It's the movement. Are you in the movement or are you not in the movement?
Yeah.
Because what's the center of the calendar? The symbol is movement. So here we are.
It's a movimiento. Yeah, I like that. It's not a Black Lives Matter. It's not the Chicano movement. It's our movement.
It's the movement in general.
The movement of humanity.
And so all those struggles into one, and that's the movement. And we're gonna make it. We're gonna get through this hard time. We've been here before. A lot of people don't know that we went through this in California 30 years ago with Prop 187. All the things they're proposing were being proposed back then, right? Doing away with birthright citizenship, doing away with our basic human rights, stripping people of their going retro and stripping people of their citizenship. We've been here.
Yeah.
Pete Wilson, Prop 187. Look it up. Learn the history, folks. And you know what? Back then, we had a string of Republican governors. They can't even get on the ballot now unless it's a bunch of Democrats running against each other. I mean, that's when this state became a blue state, was the reaction to that. Why? Because with the labor unions, and the CBOs and community organizations and the student groups, we fought back and
187, man. A lot of people don't know what 187 was. At least the younger generation don't remember, but 187 is the same thing that's happening today
on a national level.
It's just more aggressive and more in our face.
I don't know, man. If you see that movie Straight Outta Compton, look at what Pete Wilson was doing. Daryl Gates. I mean, we've been through that. That first opening scene in Straight Outta Compton was real life.
Yeah.
I lived in LA at that. I remember the 90s. It was nuts, bro. We've been through it. We've been through it, and it happened in the 50s. It happened in the 30s. And it happened in the 1840s. Look, we've been here before. We gotta stay focused. Keep your eye on the prize. Keep your eye on the prize.
Stay strong. Ricardo, thank you for coming. We got like 1 minute left. I just want to thank you for coming out here. We didn't get to talk about the pesticides and all the other good stuff that you're doing and your music and
I told you it was gonna be a 2-hour interview.
Yeah, it could. Yeah.
But check it out. You could look up my music at La Paz Jams at bandcamp.com. That's La Paz Jams, La Paz, like La Paz, Mexico. La Paz Jams at bandcamp.com. It's older hip hop. I'm working on my first album in 16 years, and I'll be putting that up there pretty soon. But you can hear the old school stuff.
And when we opened up the radio, it was one of your songs, and then right now we're gonna play one of his songs too. But
that was my nephew. That was my nephew Emilio Hernandez rapping on that. Yeah, and I was the second verse, but you cut me off, man.
Sorry, bro.
No, he's sick,
right now we got one of your songs we're gonna close the show off with.
Right on.
But thank you for coming out here. Thank you for taking time out of your day to answer some of these tough questions and to bring some kind of healing to to the community and to the people that are asking questions. But gracias y que siga el movimiento y si se puede.
Amen, brother.
Last night I had a vision of my people, vision of us level, vision of us equal, visions of them pyramids, visions of the vision kids, visions of my ancestors, and then what them people did, visions of a culture which should not be contested. But yo, then I woke up, cause then it regressed into where we are now, where we going, what's the plan? Tell me, will we break free? Tell me, will we ever stand free of that hand? Tight is the grip of oppression, but when blind is the mask, y'all, learned is not the lessons. Varieties of blindfolds, many shapes and sizes, the north, the south, star-spangled reprises. Yo, it's the same as grown. We shed blood and die for what we do not own. Now, if you take a look around here, then manifest destiny. And man, got the rest, but it can't get the best of me. Cause I feel the pain of past generations. I'm feeling that pain, letting hard destinations take course as I cut a path to the soul. And each syllable recited for my people. I'm having visions of my people. I'm having visions of my people. I'm having visions of my people. Hard times make a hard man, and hard people make a hard land. So understand, y'all. See, when you look in our faces, understand, my people, we seen many hard places. So who's to judge us, man? They haven't been our path, man. It's mostly been the shaft, kinda like the grapes of wrath. And in this land where I've grown, see, it looks like our house, but damn, if it's our home, I say we're foolishly portrayed, giving out a bit of respect. Yo, I dig for my roots, and every place I check, I see a side order of grievance. But yo, don't get me wrong, see, to hurt can be good, cause to hurt make us strong, but to hurt don't mean we gotta suffer. Tell you the truth, Rasa, I think we had enough of these fools. Coconut additions taken from the brown. When it's time to give back, they ain't nowhere to be found. See, politics is all just rhetoric, and what this all comes down to, young Chicanos really need someone to look up to. So while you getting that degree or praying to the steeple, man, keep in mind your people. I'm having visions of my people. I'm having visions of my people. I'm having visions of my people. Yeah. Check it out. I don't want to get too preachy on the outro. I'm gonna go ahead and just let Corky Gonzalez tell you right here, you know what I'm saying? Rest in power. I am Joaquin.
I am Joaquin, lost in a world of confusion, caught up in a whirl of a gringo society, confused by the rules, scorned by attitudes, suppressed by manipulation, and destroyed by modern society. My fathers have lost the economic battle and won the struggle of cultural survival. And now I must choose between the paradox of victory of the spirit despite physical hunger, or to exist in the grasp of American social neurosis, sterilization of the soul, and a full stomach. Yes, I have come a long way to nowhere, unwillingly dragged by that monstrous technical industrial giant called progress and Anglo success.